How often have you heard me say that the media is covering up? WMUR, the Union Leader, the National Telegraph, they make heroes of these heroin dealers. These people are hiding in plain sight. So yes, they are your public officials. They are your citizens of the year. And by the way, I have an important evidence coming up pretty soon, with it'll leave no doubt. Not even for you. But today I want you to listen how the media covers up. We get a 24-year-old young man here named Jared Goodell, WFEA. You want to hear a setup call? Listen to this. How many times does he say crazy? Makes fun of the fact that my life was threatened and attempts to murder me. And this was exactly the plan that they had. Now I want you to use your own judgment. And I want you to hear this. And I want you to see through this and see the power of this cover-up and see the fear they have of you hearing the truth. Now, when we were done the radio show, only then did he start saying, oh, I don't believe it. I'm saying this 24-year-old young man is a coward. And the next time, and I'm open for another interview, face-to-face. So when it comes to my life, let's see if you laugh about it then. Please listen to this radio program. And people, please learn from it. This is the art. Destroy the man, you destroy his message. My message is that these criminals are killing our children. These political Ayat, Shaheen are protecting these drug dealers. And the drug dealers are Anagos and Cruz. And what I say about the banking department is true. And those attempts on my life, there is medical reports from that hospital. There are videotapes from that hotel. There are witnesses from the attempt in the office. So you see, I am proving facts, and we're going to move each and every time criminally against these people. All right, thank you.
Sponsoring this half hour of the Jared Goodell Show. As promised, we've been talking about this all morning. Mike Gill, the man who is known for having signs on South Willow Street that accuse politicians here in New Hampshire and now local business owners of being drug dealers. Mike Gill's the guy who owns those signs, and he joins us on the phone line this morning on the Jared Goodell Show. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning. You know, I used to have more signs, and then my controller in the company, it turns out, has been working with Alex Walker, and we've been destroying the signs. But we still have one left on Manchester. And what it says is the truth. Let's not forget that I put Alex Walker as a drug kingpin in this. Alex Walker has had my life three times attempts on my life. And what I'm telling you is all documented. From now on, we're not filing lawsuits. We're filing criminal complaints. We're going to put them on videos. We're going to show you who they are and what they do, what they're doing. And I want to remind people who are on those signs, why aren't they taking them down if it isn't true? You can get an injunction. You don't have to sue somebody. You take 10 minutes, you file an injunction, tell the judge, hey, they're not true, make them take them off. Now, why can't they do that? Because it is true. And it's time for all of us to wake up.
Mike Gill on the line with us. Mike, people in Manchester, there's lots of people who are following you on social media, and you're posting pretty regularly. You're recording videos and posting them pretty regularly. But there's some people, when you go to the comment section, who say, Mike, I agree with your message. We agree with your message, but the way that you're trying to get the message across, the way that you go about talking about these issues, it just sounds crazy.
Really? Well, how about this? They're still on the sign. The fact, in Manchester? Well, let's see, Manchester. There's 13,384 cities and towns in the United States, and you're the worst heroin-addicted city or town in the country. So how crazy is that? That's a statistic, by the way. And listen, 2020 has their picks of towns across the country and does a special on Manchester, New Hampshire. And you know what I say? I say, wake up. The numbers are telling you what's going on. We're opening up treatment centers. We're not arresting drug dealers. They expect the business to be picking up. And this cannot happen. We cannot have the highest death rate of with heroin and so forth if the police officials aren't involved. And does that seem crazy to people? Well, let me explain. Just spend 10 days in jail, right? Do you know that it's common knowledge in jail, because I did a little investigating since I was there, that the guards are selling drugs. The pamphlets and the reading material from the prison are warning people how not to get raped by going into different corners and so forth. And, by the way, not taking drugs. Well, how do you think the drugs are getting in there? There's no outside contact with prisoners. It's coming in from the guards. So if the guards are bringing it in, and I'm telling you I have evidence that they are, then why is it a far stretch to see that the police in that city of Manchester is helping and protecting drug dealers, which is why, and the only reason why, we've reached to the level of crisis as we have.
Well, Mike, I guess I don't disagree with you, and I've gone on the record many times in saying that I believe that we should be jailing and putting drug users and drug dealers behind bars. The authorities say that that's not going to work. That's not going to help the issue.
Get the suppliers. Who do you think of the suppliers?
But why do you
put the Citizens of the Year up there? Hey, listen, did you hear Aganos and Cruz tell me they're going to sue me? And they told them they're not, because they know it's true. Who do you think owns these treatment centers?
But let me ask you, Mike, why? I mean, do you really believe that local business owners and that local politicians are dealing drugs? I mean, do you really believe that? That's what you put on your signs.
Business owners. You just said business owners. Oh, you mean Cruz? I'm not saying business owners. Don't pluralize it. I made single accusations now, haven't I? I named them. I put them on the signs. So let's keep it to the people I accuse. And if you're asking me if they're guilty, absolutely. And if
but how are they guilty?
They're distributing it. They've been distributing drugs for 20 years. I have witnesses that I've given into the Department of Justice, worked in the warehouse. I have witnesses that worked in the transportation of these drugs and machine guns, and they know it. So how's that for being guilty?
So you're saying that you're claiming, Mike Gill, this morning that Andy Cruz, you have proof that he's been dealing drugs and distributing weapons.
I've got State Senator 2A Sanborn, who's known it for 20 years. Now, he'd like to deny it. The problem is he said it in front of 7 witnesses that all come forward and all went to a Department of Justice complaint. Andy Cruz admitted that Anagos too. And that's just a fraction of what we have. A fraction. How about this? Do we have the worst heroin problem in America? Have you lived in New Hampshire your whole life? I have. Now, you try to explain that to me. And why aren't they going to jail? It's this simple, you know. I was in prison. I talked to the kids, the children that are getting beaten and raped in jail, by the way, and they'll all point to the guards. I went to the streets, went down Elm Street, talked to the drug users, and they tell you where to get it. I've got warehouses. I've got houses. The problem we have is, who do you report it to? I had a woman who worked in the transportation of these heroin and machine guns. She went to the authorities. She went to, I'll tell you, Detective Clark from Derry. Right. Gave him the drug dealers' names, everything what they were doing. Before she got home, the drug dealer called her off the phone, her ex-husband, by the way, and said Clark ratted her all out. So that's simply the truth. My life has been 3 attempts on my life for murder, one of which is on video, one of which has 3 witnesses, which is the only reason why I'm still here. So do we find it all that unbelievable? Really?
Mike Gill is on the line with us on the Jared Goodell Show this morning. Mike Gill is the guy that owns those signs on South Willow Street that often are accusing New Hampshire politicians and New Hampshire business owners of being drug dealers involved.
I said one business owner. Quit pluralizing it. Now, here's you go, ready? Now, those things have been on signs, and you've seen them, and all your callers might have seen them, too. Now, I've got a question for you and all the callers. You ready? I mentioned drug dealers. I put them down. I put extortion, whole thing, right? Then tell me why in all these years, now, one police officer has walked into my office at any one time and said, can I see some of the evidence on that? You know, we are looking for the drug dealers,
no, because
right?
Because I don't think anyone believes that Gene Shaheen or Kelly Ayotte or Andy Cruz, for that matter, I don't think anyone really believes.
You're fools. Then you're fools. How about this? Gene Shaheen didn't take it off my sign. You think she'd have the power to? Ayotte. Now, I've only been doing this 10 years. When have you guys been paying attention to it? Right? I only ran the largest brokerage firm in the United States. I had the biggest racehorse operation in the world. So you know what? Maybe I came to the table with a little insight. See? Shaheen did work for me. Walker's done work for me. See, I know the players. Kakavas, his U.S. attorney, worked for me. Isn't it funny I named Perlow, the banking commissioner, a drug dealer? He didn't deny it, not a drug dealer. He's protecting the laundering of the money. He didn't deny it. He resigned. And when Kakavas said the same thing, he resigned. Walker was resigned.
Let me ask you this, Mike Gill. You say that you've had 3 attempts on your life.
Right.
Tell us about those attempts. Did people hold guns to your head? What happened?
Well, here you go. First one this year was in Ritz-Carlton in Miami. I had a meeting with the National Mortgage Association director discussing the fact that the New Hampshire Banking Department is protecting Prima Bank, protecting Granite State Credit Union, where the drug dealers, if you'll notice, Cruz and Anagos are directors of those of that Prima Bank, protecting those drug dealers by allowing them to launder their money. Well, that next day, I guess they missed that I did get to hand it off, and the National Mortgage Association will testify to that fact. Now, what happened was my assistant, Carrie Lemieux, see, we name names here. I'm filing these criminal reports, an attempted murder report. She was giving Alex Walker, the former president of Divine Millimat. He is now the director, you would say, of the Catholic Memorial. Now, you think about this. She gave him my room number. She gave them the time I was there and the reason why. Now, for you who might think that that's a little bit questioning, they do have a tape at the hotel of him breaking in and trying to kill me. There were cops in there. What happened was they banged on the door on 3 different occasions, about an hour interval. They weren't checking to see, and then they would leave. They weren't checking to see if I wasn't in the room. They were making sure I was. Now, again, I say on video. And then, around 11 o'clock, I checked, just walking by to see if someone was going to try to knock on the door again. A finger went over the eyelid. And he had some kind of card. I don't know if he took it, who he took it from, but he was entering my room. Now, this fellow turned out to be a 6'7" Russian nationalist, if anybody's questioning who's bringing the drugs into this state. And I caught him as he was coming through the door and drove him back into the hallway, which got caught on camera. Now, you know who's been trying to get those tapes on 3 different occasions? Carrie Lemieux, the one who put it together, who turned around and gave them information to Walker. Well, she's been terminated. We have found her phone messages along with Brian Toomey's. So we have got an absolute record. You know who they've been communicating to with the whole time? Alex Walker. Now, you tell me why my vice president and my assistant and paralegal are talking to Alex Walker. That's exactly what. That's number one.
Mike, let me ask. We're running tight on time here.
Would you like me to quickly go through 2 for you?
Well, hold on a second here.
2 witnesses.
You recently
had a guy came in and draw a gun and was going to put it to my face. All right, and that 3rd witness came in. He backed out the door. Now that's a matter of fact. The 3rd attempt on my life was to appear to be a heart attack in that jail cell. They were taking my blood pressure 3 times a day.
So wait. So Mike,
can you let me finish this? This was only my life. I lost.
Mike, I want to preface this story, the next story that you're going to tell, that you were in jail recently in Rockingham County Jail on a contempt of court charge. You were in jail for several days, and this is where you say.
Let me tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
I know you're pressed for time. The reason why was, we had cameras that we brought in with 2 individuals.
Into court.
Into the court, which I've been doing 100 times.
All right.
Which is within our legal rights.
Go ahead.
But they don't want you to see that evidence. You know what I brought to court with me? And that judge knew it? was 2 sets of messages. One was sets of text messages, again, who threatened my children and my life. But more importantly, bring up Alex Walker and the corruption in his court. He didn't want me to send this in. And the second piece of information was a letter left on my chair and my car, my seat, that said that if I didn't take a deal, that they were going to murder and cut the heads off of each one of my children and mail it back to me. Now, what you would see, if allowed for that video, was that I begged that judge to turn around and take this information, where my safety of my children was clearly in danger. He insisted that he wouldn't. So that went around like 3 times. I said, Your Honor, this is family court. This is the protection of my children. He emptied the courtroom of those people. They put me in shackles downstairs, and they brought me back up. You know what he says? He's not submitting those as evidence. He's not going to take them because he didn't have any witnesses at that point. And then he asked me, am I sorry? Are you sorry for bringing up that information and insisting on me getting it? My answer to him was no. That's how I got 10 days.
So you're in jail, and you say that that the prison guards at the jail or somebody in jail at Rockingham County Jail tried to kill you.
How about this? Ready? I mean, it's just simple, people. Now let's put on your thinking caps. You ready? The prisoners are not bringing in drugs. They come in there, they get stripped naked, and they get hosed down. You got it? They get thrown into a smock and then into a cell. They never have contact with the outside people. You do it through windows, or you do it now through a site kind of plan, all right? So turn around and ask those prisoners if they're not taking drugs and they're not getting raped. They all are. And you know where they'll point to? Each and every one? The guards. I mentioned a guard on the air, Valencia, and that guy is one of the ringleaders. I put him out there, and I told him I put him in the jail. Now you think about this. These are young people that we're putting in jail for heroin, that they're selling heroin to again. Listen, talk to the prison guards and ask you if any one of them know. You know what they'll say? Not me, but that guy. Right. They have it in their reading material, brochure about being careful about being raped. You know, be careful about using drugs and finding yourself in a bad place. How about this? Why are they on drugs? Now, you can take a piss test and go to the Rockingham County Jail. Let's demand all the guards and the prisoners to do that. Now, I think you're going to run them neck to neck on who's taking what drugs. But I guarantee you 80% of that comes up dirty.
Yeah. Well, Mike, before we're up against the break here, I got to ask you though. You say that that they attempted to take your life. How did they attempt to take your life?
All right, here you go. On the first day, they were taking my blood pressure 3 times a day. Now, that was Wednesday evening. When I turned around on Thursday, they were, again, by 1 o'clock, they'd taken my blood pressure twice. Now, my blood pressure has been high, 160, 110. And it was right there each and every time that they took it.
Yeah.
And then I had a meeting with a lawyer that came in that I had no idea.
Yeah.
He told me to take the deal. And then I told him, what about our children? So at this point, I said, are you talking to Walker? And he looked away. I'm telling you, he's talking to Walker. And at that point, when I wouldn't take the deal, and that's funny, you remember the letter on my chair that said take the deal?
Yeah.
So now, all of a sudden, I hand him a note. Now, I put that note out there on public, so you know that I called it ahead of this incident, and that is that they're going to kill me, and I think it might be tonight. So what happened was, by the time the dinner time came, they were watching me try to eat. I took 2 spoonfuls of what I thought were potatoes.
Yeah.
As soon as they turned around, I flushed that. Now, this is medical records. We don't have to
so they,
question
Mike,
it. Hold on, we don't have to question this.
Okay.
That night, I crashed. I had the worst headache of my life. I sat up. My hands were turning colors. My feet were turning colors. I passed out on the floor. I tried to make it to the door. That guard was standing there, laying there and saying, die. How's that? And you know, they thought I ate the whole plate. Well, I didn't. And when they finally came in, my blood pressure dropped 70 points already. And at that point, I was recovering. That's exactly. And if you don't think they can't get heroin and drugs into a prison, you're mistaken.
Right.
And if they can do that, they can put anything in your food. So I didn't eat anything for 8 days other than a couple of sealed cartons of milk, 4-ounce milks, and juices.
Mike,
and that's why I'm still
right
here.
up against the break. Mike Gill, thanks for coming on this morning. We hope we can talk to you again in the future. Claiming there that in his mashed potatoes they had maybe poisoned them. It's interesting stuff.
Hey, listen, that was no joke, by the way. That was my life. When I was laying on that floor, you know what I was saying? I go, this is how I die. And maybe if I do, it'll bring attention to this and the people will believe me. You know? How's those for mashed potatoes?
Mike Gill there. He owns the signs on South Willow Street that you see, Mike. Thanks for coming on. And again, we hope we can talk to you again as these stories develop.
I'm always willing to talk, each and every time.
All right.
Thank
Mike,
you for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, Mike. It's interesting stuff, isn't it? I don't want to. I don't want to say that anyone's crazy. I mean, because look, there have been crazy times in the past where there's been corruption. But do I believe that local business owner or Gene Shaheen or Kelly Ayotte are dealing drugs on our streets? I don't believe that. Do I believe that prison guards at Rockingham County Jail tried to poison and kill Mike Gill? I struggle to believe that. You can find that podcast at 1370WFVA.com. Have a great day. Drive safe in the snow. I'm Jared Goodell, WFVA. Good morning.